I think you have the next story as well, Rebecca. There's
I
a new movie
do
coming
have
out this
the next
weekend. Is that
story.
right?
We have been podcasting about this movie ever since it was first announced, and now it has hit the theaters. It's opened in the UK already a week during last week, and in some special screenings throughout the US. So I know Nemo did a really awesome review of it, I think yesterday or the day before. So you guys can all check that out, because being in the UK, he got to see it first. So we're talking about the movie Heretic. It hits the theaters, and Heretic is reviewed here in this article by a former LDS missionary. And this is important because this movie is actually about LDS missionaries and proselytizing and visiting people in their homes. And this is ABC4 News. It says Heretic.
Rebecca,
Yes.
do we need a spoiler alert?
Oh, no, I'm not giving any spoilers because I haven't seen it. So I don't have any spoilers to give. Not one
Okay, and
bit.
there's none in this article.
Nope, there's none in this article whatsoever.
Okay, great.
Nope, it's just a very general sort of concept article. Nope.
Because I was going to have to turn off the show for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, if you really don't want to know anything about it and go in completely blind, not even the context of it, then I guess turn it off. But yeah, I haven't seen it and I don't feel it's been spoiled. But good for asking, because you're right. That would really suck if we blew it for everybody, huh? Because it does open in the US nationwide Thursday, just a few days from now. So I hope everyone will go see it. Anyway, it says Heretic stars Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East as Sister Barnes and Sister Paxson, two LDS Saint missionaries. I keep saying LDS Saints. If you notice that, I'm blah, 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 blah. Latter-day Saint missionaries who are meeting a potential convert, Mr. Reed, played by the wonderful Hugh Grant. As they are led into his home and begin to teach, it becomes clear that Mr. Reed knows more than he's letting on, and the sisters are now trapped in a deadly game of cat and mouse. And we've all seen the trailers, so we're not going to play any here. Let's see. Do I have the ability? I don't think I do, to move the slides. That's crazy. Bill, can you? Thank you. And already 95% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is getting a lot of buzz. It's even getting Oscar buzz, believe it or not, for Hugh Grant. Let's go to the next slide. I'm sorry I can't move those myself. I'm not sure what happened. So Heretic delivers well-written and complex characters with Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes. Sister Barnes is a convert to the church who has been dealt a rough hand within her family, which led her to serving a mission. While Sister Paxton was born in the faith and on the surface has an innocence that can appear as naivete. Hugh Grant gives one of the best performances of his career as Mr. Reed. And I'm telling you, I'm hearing this everywhere, that this is just absolutely amazing. I was transfixed. Again, this is the returned missionary reviewing this. Through every moment he was on screen, his character exudes ego and narcissism, but under the surface is a great depth of knowledge of religion and faith and the ability to twist beliefs to justify his idea of one true faith. All right, let's go to the next slide. And as I said, I talked to a lot of people, several people who have seen this, and they all told me they knew from the trailer it would be sort of a conversation about theology and religion and, just whoops, and really making people, hone in on their beliefs, sort of a back and forth dialogue. They said they were surprised at what inside baseball it was, meaning it really is about Mormonism. There is the discussion is not just religion in general. It really is about Mormonism, to the point where you might see it as a cinematic CES letter, I mean, very specific quotes from prophets and talking about church history. So this will be really interesting. People who are LDS who see it will recognize everything in it. Other people, it might give them something to go look up after the movie. So the question is, should somebody who's a faithful LDS see the movie Heretic? That's a question. As to whether or not active members of the LDS Church should see Heretic, I believe they should, says this reviewer. In the media, Mormons are seen as the butt of a joke or a side character in a story not made for them, with Hollywood almost mocking the perceived naivete of the members. And I think we've all seen videos and movies like that. Very rarely does Hollywood attempt to give us strong, complex, and realistic LDS characters that can be challenged, they can have depth of feelings, and most importantly, are the well-written. Heretic offers that, as well as a playground of psychological horror to explore LDS theology with respect for members who came to watch with an open mind. And everyone that I talked to who has seen it said yes, they would tell their LDS family to go and see it for these exact reasons. A very complex, nuanced range of characters, which you don't often see when it comes to LDS in the movies.
Hasn't the church taken a different position on that?
That's exactly right. What has the LDS Church said about Heretic? You read my mind in my slides. So, of course, when news of this first came out, they put out a media statement. And I'll just read a small portion of it. We've covered it before. The church said, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like other prominent global faith communities, often finds itself the focus of attention of the entertainment industry. Some portrayals are fair and accurate, but others resort to stereotypes or gross misrepresentations that are in poor taste and have real life consequences for people of faith. While this is not new, a number of recent productions depict lifestyles and practices blatantly inconsistent with the teachings of the church. Others irresponsibly mischaracterize the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries. So, of course, this statement came out in lieu of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and this. So they're saying irresponsibly mischaracterize the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries. And I just have to laugh. Somebody showed me this. This is like an ad running down a feed, right? So the first one says, reviews are in for Hugh Grant's LDS Missionaries horror movie. Here's what they say, and it shows a scary picture of the two girls walking into someone's house. Right underneath it is an actual ad from the church saying, request a missionary visit from these two lovely young girls who will come into your house. I mean, you can't make that up. Fantasy and reality. It's the same thing here. So
who has mischaracterized the safety and conduct of our volunteer missionaries?
Exactly.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints itself.
Yep. No, that's exactly what is just the irony of this entire thing. If we can go to the next slide. So Doug Anderson, who is a spokesman for the church, he also came out with a statement on Wednesday, because as I said, we've been talking about this all these months. Now here it is. It's actually in theaters. And it says, Doug Anderson, the spokesman for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in a statement released Wednesday night, said that the church supports its nearly 80,000 missionaries and others who serve in the faith by providing a thorough, regular program of physical and emotional safety training. Our commitment is to foster a culture of respect, empowerment, and safety for all individuals. The statement also noted that the movie is a work of fiction and is not based on actual events, and lamented that it portrays graphic violence toward women. Any narrative that promotes violence against women because of their faith or undermines the contributions of volunteers runs counter to the safety and well-being of our communities, Anderson said. We encourage open discussion and constructive dialogue regarding media portrayals of faith and their impact on society, the statement concluded. Together, we can advocate for stories that portray people of faith with respect, that uplift audiences and inspire positive change in our world. So they don't want missionaries portrayed in a dangerous situation.
I object to the use of the word promotes.
There you go. Yeah, they do not want a missionary portrayed in a dangerous situation. They do not want anybody to think that this is what happens to the missionaries. They will not support this movie in any way because of its content of showing missionaries in a dangerous, unrealistic situation. However, if we can go to our next slide, move to the next one. My co-host Landon brought up the point as we discussed this about this movie. Has anyone seen this or heard of this? I think it's about a decade old, The Saratov Approach. Now, this is a movie. The church didn't make it, but boy, the church news sources promoted it. It is sold at Deseret Book. It is promoted in the Deseret News, Meridian Magazine. It captures the suspense of real-life missionary abduction drama. Missionaries Travis Tuttle, Corbin Allred, played by Corbin Allred, and Andrew Prost are held captive in the Saratov Approach and Three Coins Productions. So this is, unlike Heretic, a true story where missionaries are in grave danger. You can see some of the pictures from the movie and from the promos. They're running, they're tied up. Again, this is sold at Deseret Book. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here we go. There it is. There's the cover that if you go to Deseret Book and buy this DVD or order it online, this is what you're going to be bringing into your home. Again, remember, they just came out with a statement saying we are not on board with anybody showing missionaries in danger or anything that could happen to them. This is not our mission. This is not what we do. So let's go to the next slide. A content overview of what is in this, as it's called in Meridian Magazine, Gripping Saratov Approach will uplift moviegoers of all faith. So there's a difference. This particular scenario of graphic violence against missionaries, unlike Heretic, which I don't know that they've seen it or even know what it's about, this movie will uplift us, right? Much like perhaps, I don't know, a story told by President Nelson about graphic violence and a gun being held to his head and a trigger pulled. Very scary, also not true, but told to uplift people, right? and
I
to
thought it was to promote burglaries of mission homes.
Well, I'm saying that was a missionary story also, right? That was the mission home. The mission president's wife ended up with a broken arm. This story is told, yet Heretic is not allowed to share its story of missionaries. So here's the content of this movie. The Saratov Approach is rated PG-13. It features brief but merciless beating and kidnapping of 2 missionaries who are bloodied and bruised for the rest of the film. Intense moments of menace. Guns are pointed at the missionary's head, much like President Nelson's story, and mature thematic elements that capture smoke and drink. Drugs and needles are shown, and a woman's out-of-wedlock pregnancy is mentioned.
Holy Toledo, Batman.
That's right. It is highly recommended, but only for teens and up. So I'm just trying to wrap my brain around that.
This is Meridian Magazine. This is the LDS affiliated magazine.
Yes. Okay. And there was a similar, very positive review in the Deseret News about this movie, telling everyone to go see it because it has a positive, uplifting message despite the, what did it say? Intense moments of menace and merciless beatings and kidnappings. So I guess it's when the church can control the message of it and use it for a positive experience that it's okay. But Heretic, they have no control over. And so they're going to say, don't see that. Now, Heretic, the producer is former LDS. The writer is former LDS. The 2 actresses that play the sisters are former LDS. And both of the actresses said in an interview, I wasn't sure I wanted to play that part because I have family and friends that are LDS. When I read the story and I read what these girls, what their part entailed and the depth of it and the nuance, they said, I totally want to play this because it's an extremely well-rounded character and it represents missionaries very well. It's not like this graphic slasher over-the-top cartoon character. These are portrayals of missionaries that, as I understand it, are like I said, very nuanced, very, very true, I think. So let's go to the next slide. I don't know, it just left me for pause. So another thing that I heard out in the faithful community is that people are concerned about copycats. Will this movie now give someone the idea that when a missionary shows up in their home, because they've called them from Facebook, how sometimes this is interesting. I wanted to show some of those ads that they put on Facebook Marketplace. Cute sister missionaries going, plate of cookies? We'll bring it to your house with the Book of Mormon. Stick of gum? I'll bring it to your house. Hi, need a friend? We'll come to your house. I found a whole bunch of those ads. I couldn't even bring myself to put them on the newscast because I don't want to promote that at all. I don't want to show that. But if you want to know those exist, you can go out there. A lot of them have been collected on Reddit. They really are putting themselves out there in a scenario where somebody could see that ad and invite them in. But missionaries are now concerned that there could be some copycats, and they're more worried than ever about visiting friends in their home. So let's go to the next slide. I think we're almost done.
Did you say, wait a second, friends in their home?
Yeah, because they don't call them investigators anymore. They call them friends. Friends.
When did this happen?
Probably about 2 years ago, I think. I first noticed it when I had a relative on the mission and they kept writing letters that said, we met with our friends. And I was like, God, they're spending a lot of time with their friends. Where are the investigators? And then I realized, no, they are now calling. And this is more of a Christian word. We want to meet our friends and share the good news. If you read missionaries today, their letters, this is what you're going to hear. So before I go to this very last movie slide, because I do have another movie to talk about, any thoughts on Heretic and maybe a double standard in that we kind of illustrated through the Saratov Approach? What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to try to put up on the screen here. Let me see if I can get it really quick. I want to read the quote here from the church again. It says, this was Doug Anderson. Any narrative that promotes violence against women because of their faith or undermines the contributions of volunteers runs counter to the safety and well-being of our communities. And it makes me think that there are plenty of narratives in the LDS Church that have violence against women. Now, the church doesn't tell you about them, but they happened. And in this way, actually keeping the story from the members actually promotes additional violence. Because then if people understand the context of what's happened in Mormon history, all of the young teenage girls that were groomed by Joseph Smith, who were groomed to live in his home as maids or adopted daughters or the like, there's some spiritual and sexual violence that happened in these situations too. And it just seems strange, like you said earlier, which stories the church once promoted, which violent acts it has no problem talking about, and which ones it wants you to steer away from. And it does seem more about controlling the narrative than it is about violent acts or violence against women. So there's my thoughts. And then my other thing I'll just say really quick, Rotten Tomatoes, 95%. And there's like almost 100 reviews in already. That means the movie is damn good. So I will be seeing it at my earliest convenience this coming weekend in Lehigh, Utah.
It's all those damn anti-Mormons skewing the score.
That's it. That's us. What do you think, RFM? Any
My
other
thought
thoughts?
is simply this, and it's rather reductionist, but I think we can tell from your very fine juxtaposition of the church's position on the heretic versus the church's position on the Saratov approach that the church's real objection to the movie Heretic has nothing to do with missionary safety.
No, it's all about a narrative getting out that they may not want to get out, right? Because as I said, I learned that it's a lot of inside baseball about Mormonism, which piques my interest even more to go and see it because it's getting such great reviews.